Welcome back to our continuing series called Talkback Highlights. In today's installment, we're going to be covering voice commands. Now, this is something that was touched on in a previous episode by Warren, but today we're going to be doing an in-depth demonstration of a lot of the different voice commands you can do with Talkback, because this is a very powerful feature, and in my opinion, it's one of the things that sets Talkback apart from VoiceOver. So, I'll start by saying the default gesture to bring up voice commands is to swipe right then up. And the first time you do this, it's going to ask you for microphone access. So if you haven't used voice commands before, you're going to need to grant access to Android Accessibility Suite or Talkback, whatever the app is called on your phone, depending on if it's a Samsung phone or a Pixel phone. And then there's going to be a pop-up that's going to describe briefly to you what voice commands are. And now in this pop-up, there's a box checked that says always show this. So you're going to want to uncheck that box before you click on the button use voice commands. This way, when you do the gesture for voice commands, you'll just hear a chime and you can say your voice command from there. So I'm going to swipe right then up to trigger the voice commands, and I'm going to say help. Help.
Voice command overview. Navigate up button.
So as you're going to see, this brought up the help page for voice commands. So I encourage you to go in here, and this is where you can look through all the different types of voice commands you can do.
Voice command overview. To use voice commands, swipe right then up. Say help or what can I say? Anytime for this list of commands. For best results, say the exact wording listed on the following screens.
So there's going to be a few different sections here. I'm not going to open them because I encourage you to go look here yourself and go open them and look through the voice commands. But I'm just going to give you some demonstrations from each of the following sections. So the first section is
Reading. Change how you read content on the current screen.
So a couple of voice commands you could do related to reading are, if you want to go to the first item on screen or last item on screen, you can just say first or last, like this. First.
Navigate up button.
Last.
Text editing. Type, select, and copy text.
So that put the last item on screen in focus. You can also say read from top or read from next item. Read from top.
Navigate up button. Voice command overview. To use voice commands, swipe right then up. Say help or what can I say?
So I stopped that, but it would have continued reading. You can also say read from next item.
For best results, say the exact wording listed on the following screens. Reading. Change how you read content on the current screen.
So I stopped that, but it would have just continued reading until the very end. So a few other things you can do are, I'll just do examples. Speak faster.
Speech rate 82%.
So you could change your speech rate this way if you want. Speak slower.
Speech rate 75%.
You can also change your granularity this way. So words navigation.
Words.
So now if I swipe up or down,
Reading. Change.
it goes by words. Characters navigation.
Characters.
So I changed it to characters. So if you don't want to swipe or have to change your granularities by swiping through all the different things, you can just say the one you want and it'll set it to that. So now we're on characters.
Space. H. O. W. Whiskey.
So another thing you can do is say, I'll give you an example. You can say, next heading.
No next heading.
So obviously there's no next heading on this page, but if there were, it would go to the next heading, even if your current granularity or reading mode is not set to headings. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next section now.
Find items, find specific content on the current screen.
So this is very useful. If you're on a screen and you know there's a button you want to find quickly, but don't want to have to swipe to it or explore to find it, you can just say find followed by the label of the button. So I'm going to go to Gmail to demonstrate this.
Home. Android Accessibility Suite. Mail. Search in Mail, search in Mail.
So I'm in Gmail, and there's this floating button that's sometimes hard to find near the bottom right, and that's what you click on if you want to compose a message. So I'm just going to do the voice command. Find, compose.
Compose button.
And now the compose button is in focus, and all I would have to do is double tap to go to it.
Gmail. Home.
So heading back to the
Voice
settings.
command overview. Find items, find specific content on the current screen.
So you can also, if you want to do a screen search, you can say screen search. But moving on to the next section here.
Text editing, type, select, and copy text.
Text editing. So this is something I use a lot. I'm going to open the Messages app to demonstrate this.
Home. Audible large. Messages. Ashley Dyer. Text. Text, edit box.
So now that I have a edit box in focus, I'm going to type a message just by saying the word type followed by the message. Type. This is an example of how you can use voice commands to type a message with your voice, period.
This is an example of how you can use voice commands to type a message with your voice, end of field.
So as you could see, it read it back to me, and it never even brought up the keyboard, so I just had to have the edit box in focus. So if that's what I want to send, I could just swipe right and double tap on send without even needing the keyboard. So I'm going to show you a couple other things you can do. Select all.
Selected text. This is an example of how you can use voice commands to type a message with your voice. Copy and paste toolbar. Showing English, US QWERTY.
So that did bring up the keyboard because we're now editing text. And as you heard, the copy and paste toolbar is up, but we don't need it because we could just do cut.
Cut. This is an example of how you can use voice commands to type a message with your voice. Copied to clipboard. Showing recently copied or captured content as candidate.
Paste.
Voice. Showing recently copied or captured content as candidate.
So as you could see,
Editing. This is an example of how you can use voice commands to type a message with your voice. Edit box.
the text is back in the box. So I cut it and I pasted it back in there. You can also use this to turn on selection mode. So I can say select.
Selection mode on. Period. E select. C selected. I select. O select. V select. Space selected.
So if once you've selected what you want to delete, you can just say delete.
Voice. Deleted.
And then
Showing recently copied or captured content as candidate.
and then it tells you what you've deleted. So that's just a few text editing voice commands you can do. I'm going to now go back to where we were.
Home. Messages. Voice command overview. Text editing. Type, select, and copy text.
So now let's go to the next section.
Device navigation, go home, go back, show notifications, and more.
So this is basically all your device navigation you can use with your voice if you want. So I'll just show you a couple things. Home.
Home. Messages.
So that took me to my home screen. Notifications.
Notification shade. 11:51 a.m.
Quick settings.
Quick settings. 11:51 a.m.
Recents.
Home. Settings do not disturb.
So that took me to my recents page with all my recent apps. I'm going to go back home. Home.
Audible large. Double tap and drag to move.
So now I'm back on my home screen. Another cool thing you could do is bring up Google Assistant. So all you have to do is say Assistant. Assistant. What's the weather?
It's 80 and sunny. Today, it'll be partly cloudy, with a high of 83 and a low of 63.
So as you could see, that's a quick way to bring up Google Assistant if you're not using a Pixel and don't have an easy way to access the Google Assistant. That's just another option. Another thing you can do is say all apps, and that takes you to the app drawer. So
Home. Priority app.
So now I'm in the app drawer. But I'm going to go back to the settings.
Recent apps. Google Assistant. Google Assist. Android Accessibility Suite. Voice command overview. Device navigation, go home, go back, show notifications, and more.
So we have one more section that we can explore here.
Other commands, go to Talkback settings, hide screen, see actions, add custom labels, and more.
So as you can see, you can Talkback settings.
Talkback settings. Navigate up button. Voice command overview.
You could also say hide screen.
Screen hidden. Do gesture swipe down, then right to open Talkback menu, highlight show screen, then double tap.
Show screen.
Showing screen.
Home.
Home. Audible large. Double tap and drag to move.
So I'm going to show you how to label unlabeled buttons. I'm on the Audible widget right now.
Audible large. Double unlabeled button.
And there are a bunch of unlabeled buttons. So there's a
30.
back 30 seconds button, and to the right of that,
Unlabeled button. Unlabeled button. Unlabeled button. Unlabeled button.
there's 4 unlabeled buttons.
Unlabeled button.
And I know from using the app that they are previous chapter, play and pause, next chapter, and bookmark. So I'm going to show you the quickest way to label these using voice commands. Label previous chapter.
Label saved. Unlabeled button.
Label play/pause.
Label saved. Unlabeled button.
Label next chapter.
Label saved. Unlabeled button.
Label bookmark.
Label saved.
So now, as you can see,
Next chapter. Play/pause but previous chapter button.
they're all labeled as they should be. And one more thing you can do is bring up the actions menu if you want to. So I'm just going to put an app icon in focus.
Messages.
Actions.
Actions. Move item.
So now here's a list of all the actions.
Remove from home screen. Disable item. Cancel button.
I'm just going to hit cancel.
Home. Messages.
That's just a bunch of examples of different things you can do with Talkback using voice commands. I hope this has been helpful, and thank you for listening.